we had a clean plate policy in my house, and it was the most dreadful day ever because they would serve it before Disney was on. If you remember, Disney was on at 7 o'clock on Sunday nights, and there's meatloaf. And so her meatloaf was more loaf than meat. You'd bite into a pocket of soaked bread, kind of gross. So ever since then, I decided to take matters into my own hands, and I started to cook a little bit. And then when I was a teenager, we moved in with my aunt and uncle, and my aunt was a tremendous cook. And I'm like, wow, this is what good cooking tastes like. This is fantastic. And then as life progressed on, we moved to Vermont. When we were in Vermont, restaurants are very few and far between and actually suck. And they're horrible, and you're paying a lot of money. And the supermarket was like 25 minutes away from us, and my cooking sort of amped up because I'm like, we're not going out to eat. We need to put out some good meals. And every time we went to a restaurant, we were disappointed and upset and spending $100 for nothing that we really liked. So I really started amping up my cooking, and as time has worn on, I decided to take over some of the cooking responsibilities during the week. I cook 3 days a week. As you guys know, obviously I work, 10 hours a day during the week, but Friday, Saturday, and Sunday are my days to cook. And I really get into it. And over the last several years, my wife and kids have been pushing me to like, well, why don't you do a restaurant? Why don't you do, because I actually brew my own beer, I make my own cider, I can make wine, I make a whole bunch of other things, but they were like, well, do a restaurant or do a brewery or do this, and I'm like, I don't want to raise $500,000. I don't want to hire people, I don't want licensing issues, I don't want to have to find a space, I don't want to have to do any of that. And about a month and a half ago, I woke up at 4 o'clock in the morning and I said, I gotta do something different, because I really enjoy cooking and I love it. And I also realized that my cooking has kind of evolved in kind of a sort of like a platform where I'm like, you know what? There's a lot of people who are like me where they don't want a really complicated recipe. They want 4 or 5 ingredients. They want something they can put on the table within an hour. And they also, the goal really is like, okay, can I make it simple that I can repeat this? And I can flip-flop all kinds of, parts of my meal into this, or I can pull out a starch, I can put out a protein, I can put out a vegetable, but it's repeatable. And so you don't feel stressed about it. Because when I was starting to cook, I felt stressed. I come home Friday and I'm running around like a nut, and I had no organization, I had no idea what I wanted to cook. And you go in the supermarket, you forget an ingredient, and then when you go to a recipe book, you look at all the ingredients, you're like, wow, I have to go to Morocco to find that spice, or I gotta go to Europe to find this one, and I need a special pan that I'm gonna use once every 6 years. So as my cooking has evolved, I've decided to simplify a couple things, and I realized, you know what, I need to start sharing this with other people, because other people are in the same boat. They're like, I wanna cook, I wanna put out a good meal, but I also wanna make it edible. So, everyone will enjoy it, but also I don't want to be going to the restaurant all the time either and spending lots of money. It's expensive to go out to eat every night, and sometimes, you're disappointed a lot of times. You're like, oh my God, $40 entree? Well, they just slapped the vegetables here. They didn't even cook them. So with all that, I woke up at 4 in the morning and I said, I need to do something with food and beverage. And so what I did is I launched my own Instagram initiative. So I set up an Instagram account, I got the Twitter feed going, I got a YouTube channel, and this is my daughter, Sophie, my VP of digital media. So what we do is typically every Sunday I will make something. I'll make a protein, a vegetable, or a starch. It's usually a 5-minute video. And Sundays are our filming day, and it's one take only. So there's no do-overs. And it's typically something I'm making for the family that night. So it's, it's not really stressful, but it's like, okay, we're gonna.
You can't mess up.
I can't mess up, so I'm making it. And so we've done probably 6 or 7 videos at this point, and we're starting to kind of roll along. And obviously this was really exciting for me because I connected with Karen, and I'm not culinary trained. She isn't either. And yet we're putting out some great stuff, and I'm like, you know what? Not everybody has to go to cooking school and spend all kinds of crazy money, and especially if you don't want to get into the cooking industry, you don't want to be working at a restaurant or be a chef. I'm like, we need to share that with people, and that's why I'm here.